Let me start with you, Doug. What's your take on the tenor of the proposal? Because we don't see the proposal yet.
So yeah, the blog post that Wheeler posted today in Wired, largely just confirming what everyone's sort of been expecting ever since President Obama made his endorsement of Title II in November. So not a lot of big surprising news, but I must say that I think this is a disappointing move. I think that the litigation risk is really quite high. Title II is largely an overblown response into what is really a narrow question of what sort of legal authority the FCC needs to police the open internet. So I'm disappointed by this news.
So let me understand, you're disappointed because they're trying to change this? What disappoints you about it?
So Title II, there's all sorts of uncertainties that we enter into when we reclassify broadband from an information service to a telecommunications service. A big part of the big open question is how the FCC is going to do this forbearance process. There are provisions of Title II that just about everyone agrees are unnecessary and outdated. Remember that these are rules that are
Give me one example.
In place
I know they're ancient and they were written for when people were using homing pigeons to communicate. But what's the one thing you think is outdated about this?
So there are a number of them. But one of the biggest ones is all the last mile, the local loop unbundling, and all of those sorts of provisions that were put in place in the '96 Telecom Act for what were then regional monopoly telephone providers. Just about everyone agrees that those sorts of regulations are not appropriate in the broadband market today. But how exactly the FCC goes about forbearing from those provisions is a big open question, and there's a lot of tensions in sort of justifying the need for the switch to Title II, whether or not apart from whether or not that's justified at all. But there's tension between the forbearance findings and that change in the classification to a telecommunications service.
Chris, I don't know if you heard this. Chris Lewis, just about everyone agrees that Title II is not going to work here. Chris, are you just about everyone?
No, I definitely don't agree with that. I think what everyone can agree upon is that the basic core net neutrality protections are important. And now the question before the FCC is, how do you put those into action? We support Chairman Wheeler's decision to use Title II, basically because in 2010 the FCC tried to enact net neutrality rules and had them struck down by the court. And in that court decision, when Verizon sued the FCC over its rules, the court basically said that the rules they were trying to enact were too close to Title II type or common carrier type rules. And so by Chairman Wheeler putting out a proposal that uses Title II, it makes it more likely that these rules will pass court muster. We think it's a historic decision, and we're very supportive of him moving forward.
So I get I get the idea that the FCC needs Title II because that gives them they have a framework to use Title II. And they can't just make laws. Do you think that's the very best way to make sure that things that go across that last mile, that go across your cable modem, are unhindered by the cable company itself? Chris?
We think it's the strongest rules that the FCC has at their disposal. Of course, Congress could always update the Telecommunications Act. There's talk of them doing that this Congress, but that process takes time, and consumers have been without net neutrality protections for over a year now. So we're very supportive of the FCC moving forward with their process right now. And then if Congress chooses to update the Act, clarify things, we would hope that they would do it in a way that protects these net neutrality principles and empowers the FCC to do its job as a cop on the beat over internet service providers. Yeah.
So it sounds like what you're saying is it's a clumsy tool, but it's the best one they've got. Doug, we've only got about 30 seconds left, but really quick, tell me one negative impact that could come if this rule is what it sounds and is implemented.
Well, I think the biggest negative impact is that this by no means ends this fight. The Title II has a lot of litigation risk. It'll likely be overturned on appeal. I don't think that it's likely to stick. This has always been fundamentally a fight over the jurisdiction the FCC has to police these networks. There's not a lot of strong disagreement over the scope of what the actual net neutrality rules themselves should look like. It's just the FCC's jurisdiction. I think we should go to Congress, get this clarified, and get this fight settled once and for all.
Doug Brake, ITIF Telecom, and Chris Lewis from Public Knowledge, thank you very much. We're going to continue to dig into this issue because this thing ain't over.